Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, and I got a review for you today by request from my dude, Norrinradd82. It is Boom Studios' A Vicious Circle, issue number 1. It is written by Mattson, Tomlin, art and colors by Lee Bermejo, and the letters by Becca, Carey. Before we get started on the review, please like, comment, subscribe. All those comments, those likes, it helps immensely. Hit that bell if you want to be inclined and when I'm dropping videos. So without further ado, here we go. First off, the art in this book, I mean, if you don't know Lee Bermejo, the art is fantastic. It does switch, and we'll get there when I do the review. But another thing to point out, since it is a magazine format book, it is $9.99, but I mean, just the art alone is worth the book. But I mean, it was a fantastic read, and we're gonna get there. So, A Vicious Circle, it does play into the story. If you happen to read the synopsis, it's something about time travel mixed with dinosaurs, and that's kind of what I got. I was sold. I thought Lee Bermejo was doing the story. He is just doing the art, but I mean, nonetheless, it's fantastic. But we start out with Sean Thacker. It could be like Tracer Thacker. I want to say it's Thacker, Sean Thacker. And I apologize, I'm just bad with names. I'm not mispronouncing it on purpose. But we are starting out with Sean. He is waking up with his family. He is being woken up. But one thing I can say about this book is we get, I mean, it's a lot like real life. We're following Sean, and we get this like narration from Sean, but it's inside his head, and then we also get like active, conversation and from the world that he's around and stuff. But Sean's being woken up by his son, who wants to go fish. It's the weekend. It is expressed that the poles are down in the basement, and the dad has to go get them by himself. So everybody starts waking up. They go get breakfast. As they're getting breakfast, they're listening to the radio, and Sean actually hears a report, like something that's going on, and that it's something about further escalating the tensions in the school, desegregation crisis, and that's what it is. There's a mayor or something like that who's trying to, put some schools on break so they don't have to worry about the segregation issue or something like that. I want to say this book does take place in the beginning. It takes place in the 40s or 50s, something like that. But it is going through that time in America when race, and it was pretty predominantly at this time, and it was pretty ugly if you happen to be a colored person, which this family is. So anyways, after hearing the report, he kind of changes plans. He doesn't tell his son right away. He does go get the poles out of the basement, which turns out to be something completely different from what he's really doing. But he goes down to the basement, and we find out he's got a door that's locked and sealed up, and there is a man that is locked up down here. He also has he's wearing some kind of face mask. There is a short conversation, not a whole lot. We see that Sean is actually feeding the guy. He's giving him raw eggs. Salmonella poisoning to the 5th degree. But basically, the conversation is I wonder what would happen if you killed me or I killed you. Would it end this whole, charade? And Sean's like, I think about it every day. As they're down there talking, they're interrupted because Sean's son comes to the door. Sean, the dad, screams up, "No, don't come down here, you know the rules," And at that point, that's all that's done with the secret basement, and they continue on their day going fishing. It doesn't go down as planned. Like I said, he kind of heard the news report and kind of decided to change plans, so he does drop his son off, and he ends up going to this bar, but not really to go drink. We find out that he has been placing bets, and he just happens to know things. I've already mentioned it's about time travel, and that's exactly what's going on. Evidently he remembers what's going to happen, so he goes to this bar and he places bets on how many schools are going to shut down, and he places a $5,000 bet. The man that he places the bet with is a blind guy, and somehow he always happens to know that it's Sean when he walks in the bar. Sean gets very interested in that, but the guy's more interested in how, like, over the years Sean has been making these bets and always correct. But I'm assuming he's not doing sports or anything like that. He's doing just the education or maybe the government, side of it, so it didn't draw too much attention. After placing the bet, Sean goes back home, and of course we find exactly what you would not want to return home to. His wife is, badly beaten. She's on the floor, and he starts looking for his son, and sure enough, his son is at the bottom of the basement with his head bashed in, and the man that was locked up has now escaped. At this point, Sean grabs his son and his wife and goes to the hospital. We have a scene where basically, and there's a whole bunch of narration that's going on, through these pages, and Sean he loves his family. I mean, this is like his greatest gift is his wife and his son. And at this point, I mean, he's about to lose his son and his wife. His son's in the other room, and he's about to die, and his wife is following suit. But basically in this conversation right here, his wife makes him promise that he will, track down that man and kill him. And that's basically it. That she wants revenge, and she wants it, served very cold. As soon as Sean goes to promise, it is stated in that one scene, like during, it's like a one sentence line, but supposedly when stuff happens to his timeline, specifically like his wife and his son dying, he starts time traveling, and that's exactly what happens. Before he actually gets to mouth the words, "I promise," he starts traveling through time. This is where the art style changes a little bit. There's a lot more color, but it is a variation on how Lee Bermejo draws. And if you know his art, you can kind of tell. But this one's a little more cartoony, and not cartoony as far as like gimmicky or kiddie. It's just a different style of art. But basically, we are with Sean now, and he is in the future. He wakes up, and as soon as he wakes up, he is like instantly accosted by these police. He eventually like turns around and knocks one of the police, like basically his head off. And he realizes that they are robots, they're androids. He quickly takes the android's gun and he flees. He starts questioning because he mentions that the reason that he's in this time now is because of the other guy. And you get the kind of assumption, or I got the assumption, that he was stuck in that time with his wife and his family because he had that guy kidnapped down in his basement. So as soon as that guy was able to escape, boom, the time traveling happens again. And this time he mentions that this guy is looking for something, so he starts looking for what this guy is looking for. He calls it the key. And sure enough, not too long down the line, he comes across this massive billboard, and he says like the strangest words to me. I'll tell you what, but he says, "Kang turning." Now you're talking about time travel and stuff like that. You might want to have used like a different word, a different name than Kang, but it's not associated with anybody yet. He just sees this billboard, and this is the key, that the reason that this guy is in this present timeline or whatever. Eventually Sean, he makes it to this place where they're selling this advertised stuff, and it's basically like a virtual reality. You hook yourself up and you can see visions or memories or virtual reality fantasy stuff. And as he's walking through, there's like this little anime, like she is a salesperson or whatever, and basically they start scanning him as soon as he walks in, and they start mentioning that he has no like data ports, or that he doesn't have like proper ID and stuff like that, how they monitor people and stuff like that. He is taken inside this lab, and he is offered like full hookups and everything. And at this point Sean's like, yeah, give me the treatment, and this guy over here is like, well, I can give you the non-invasive where we don't actually like do any surgery, and I can hook you up and give you a taste. At this point, it's all in like Sean's narrated head, but basically, it's like a brief moment with his son and his wife still alive, even though for Sean it's only been like a matter of minutes since he was last with his son and his wife. He still knows they're gone. But of course he doesn't stay in the dream or whatever. He does state that he could, and it would be easy to stay in that dream and just die in the machine kind of thing. As he comes to, he quickly blows the like lab surgeon guy, and he basically asks him where the headquarters of this place is, and after that, security rushes in. Sean takes care of the security. He does end up getting shot, like they kind of show it right here. He gets shot in the shoulder, but he manages to escape from all the robotic, androids. He ends up doing this superhero, like jump out of a window, and he like slides down a building, but eventually he's kind of hopping to this one tower that's in the middle of town, and supposedly that's where our masked guy is. And we get a little piece of the backstory at this point, and it's basically like, and it goes back to the Kang turning, but it's like in some other future they made a machine of death and destruction. I was sent from my time to destroy it. He was sent from his to turn it on. Worlds collided, shit got bad, and that's basically how they got to that point where they were, in a nutshell, because that's not really how they got there, but basically that's why these two people are at odds. He's supposed to be turning the machine off to make sure it never gets turned on. It could be the end of the universes or whatever. The other guy, he's trying to do the let it burn type thing. They do show this whole scene where he is infiltrating the building, and this guy has to have powers because they show him just scaling, this building. He makes it into this duck, all Die Hard fashion. He even states that the guy has been here before him, which should have clued him in, like trap. And sure enough, as soon as he jumps down from the ducks, our dude is here. The dude in the mask. We do learn his name at this scene, which the guy in the mask didn't even know his own name. But his name is Ferris, and basically at this time that's when it gets revealed that I had a name, damn. That he has been stuck down in that like basement for so long he's forgotten things, and basically at this time it's just the two of them battling out. There is a comment that comes from the bad guy about how do you know you're on the right side? How do you know you're the good guy and I'm the bad guy kind of thing? The bad guy, Ferris, he ends up running off, and of course Sean takes up after him. After running down a corridor, he sees him in this like room next to this machine. Sean quickly runs down the hall and fires, and sure enough it's glass, and then he kind of sees that he's stuck in this he ran down this corridor without even checking, but he's kind of stuck in this tube thing. The guy mentions, he's like, oh, you took a wrong turn, sucker, haha. And after that, before he can activate the machine, real cops from this present finally kind of show up, and they have our guy Ferris, basically put your arms up, freeze, get down on the ground. The next thing they show us from him is that our dude Ferris just pulls a knife, and I want to assume he starts killing the guys, because right after that, the next panel they just show that Sean time travels, and from here on out it's like blip after blip after blip. At first they're in this Civil War scenario, and then it jumps to, and I'm gonna have to, it's a rock concert. But all these places, they kind of show these little panels, and they show Ferris here, and as soon as he sees Ferris is instantly killing some random dude. This continues to happen with these panels. Every time they flip through a different future, a different past, that guy Ferris is there punching somebody, killing somebody, kicking somebody, and these people, it's just it's random, because they're just la, and all of a sudden some dude appears, and it's you know, and that's how they're seeing it. The whole time, you know, that there's Sean is trying to say like, Ferris, stop it, like, please, and they're just like flipping through different times, and it's almost like a flip, 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 you know. I want to say it looks like it could be like 5-10 seconds because they flip. Ferris has enough time to grab somebody, kill somebody, and then it's like on to the next, you know, the next future. Another thing that points out to me is it could be like that they time travel when people die. Because so far every time they have time traveled, it's during, you know, it's after someone has deceased or whatever. The next place that they kind of teleport, or, you know, he gets time traveled to, he enters a house and he's next to the crib. There's a baby there, and as soon as he does, there's a guy with a gun. The guy, you know, our dude Sean's like, no, don't, and he's talking to Ferris. Of course, Ferris is right behind him. He kills him, and then they teleport somewhere else. Now they're in this like Russian bathhouse, and with all these like Russian gangsters, they instantly like right here like jump on Sean for some reason with Ferris in the background. And when that happens, Sean teleports again, this time on some waterfall, you know, and he ends up like traveling down a lake. He ends up like making it out, and as soon as he makes it out and into the forest, bam, we got dinosaurs. And then it looks like Sean's about to get, you know, his head biting off right here by, I want to say it's a you know, nah, it could be an Allosaurus or a T-Rex. It's probably a T-Rex. Everybody likes using T-Rexes. But yeah, that's where this book leaves us off. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff that I left out and stuff, but that's pretty much the main flow of the book. And that's how I do all my reviews. I never like, I don't do like 100% review. I might as well be reading it at that point. But that's my review. It was fantastic. The story, the art. I really loved how it was like we were actually getting the full story. Like it was like we were in his head, and we were actually hearing. I mean, you know, I hear in all comics they got dot bubbles and stuff like that, but it's the way they're used. In this book, it was like they were used so right. But this was a fantastic book. If you have a chance to pick it up, find it in the back issues when it hits the back issues. You know, it is a pricey book, so I don't blame you for passing it because of the price. But if you do get a chance, I would highly suggest picking out Boom Studios' A Vicious Circle. It was fantastic. That's my review. I'm sticking to it. I'll see you guys later.